My name is Kibo Nagasaki. The title of my project is Hidden Facts Behind COVID-19. I found that there were no flu cases around me lasting this winter. Some people might think this is because of hand washing, masks, social distancing, and the flu vaccine. However, Japanese have been doing those things before the pandemic, and more than 60% of Japanese have been taking the flu shot every year. But they had many flu cases in the past years. But the flu cases have drastically dropped last February. Premier Doug Ford did not wear the mask last March when he declared a state of emergency, but the flu cases significantly dropped. Therefore, the suppression of influenza couldn't be explained only by public health countermeasures or the flu vaccine. Dr. Teresa Tam required us to reduce contact by 25% on October 30. At that time, the number of daily new cases would be breaking record almost every day. So I wondered if 25% cut was enough or not. The main components in the membrane of the virus are cholesterol and lipid, meaning it's hydrophobic and lipophilic. I thought longer chain length of alcohol was better. Why were we recommended to use ethanol? Gamma radiation has some advantages of being it's quick, it penetrates, and it produces no heat. So I thought radiation could be used for disinfection against the virus. The purpose of my project was 1. To study why the number of influenza cases were suppressed compared to the past years. 2. To study the impact of contact cuts on the number of COVID-19 infected persons in Ontario. And 3. To see the effectiveness of a long chain length of alcohol. In addition, I studied the usefulness of gamma radiation against the virus. Firstly, I used NCBI BLAST to compare the homologies of amino acid sequences between SARS-CoV-2 and influenza A and B viruses. I chose Wuhan 1 because it is one of the original SARS-CoV-2 and the difference between other SARS-CoV-2 is at most 0.03%, including the UK variant and so on. I chose these influenza viruses because they were studied throughout and the functions of the protein were completely understood. Secondly, I considered the balance between an infected person and isolated person and developed this mathematical model. K is the infectious rate and K dash is the isolation rate. The slope can be assumed to be K minus K dash. The change in minimum number of infected person reflects the change in number of cases. From the accuracy of the PCR test and the symptomatic ratio, I assumed that the maximum case is double the minimum case. The real numbers between them, so here I assume that the promising case is 1.5 times the minimum case. These are the mathematical models I considered. Thirdly and finally, I mixed alcohol with dry yeast or cholesterol at 30 or 39 degrees. After 30 minutes, I studied the fermentation of dry yeast by visual and microscopic observation, and the stability of cholesterol by fluorence measurement. I also used dry yeast irradiated by gamma ray. Irradiation was done at Tokyo Institute of Technology. Radiation doses were 100 gray, 1 kilogray, and 10 kilogray. Now I'll explain my results. I found that SARS-CoV-2 had a high homology in amino acid sequences with influenza virus, especially influenza B virus. The protein function with high homology were found to be similar to each other. From the facts, the clade group S and L SARS-CoV-2 spread much earlier than we considered in 2019. The reproduction number of SARS-CoV-2 is larger than that of influenza, and the clade group G also spread last spring and summer. I considered by infecting SARS-CoV-2, the immune function in the human body against influenza was activated and the influenza was suppressed. In the spring 2020, more than 90% of contact off for 2 months is required to reduce the number of infected persons to 1/40th, so the provincial emergency was correct. In the fall, at least 70% of contact off for 2 months was needed to reduce the number to 1/40th. If we needed to reduce the number to 1/100th, 90% of contact for 2 months was required. The current declining trend after the stay-at-home order is following 50% of contact cut curve. Namely, a long time is needed to reduce the number of infected persons significantly. Supercomputer Huraku showed the effectiveness of masks. and a combination of contact cut with masks may reduce the number of infected persons more quickly. I found that the longer the chain length of alcohol is, the lower the minimum inhibition concentration is for the fermentation of the dry yeast and the cholesterol stability. I also found that there was a cutoff region at longer chain length of alcohol. My results strongly suggest that the presence of the cutoff region is related to the solubility of alcohol. Namely, only liquid alcohol can show the disinfection function, but the solid alcohol cannot. Gamma radiation inhibits the fermentation of dry yeast, the threshold between 100 gray and 1 kilogray. This suggests that the gamma radiation is useful for the disinfection against the virus. In my project, I found one more important reason of the suppression of influenza. I showed that the strict contact cut was needed for a long time by my own math model. I demonstrated that long-chain liquid alcohol and gamma radiation are effective for the disinfection. These are examples of applications for my project. This is the bibliography. The most difficult part of my project was to collect COVID-19 data every day to consider the meaning of changes to the trend of COVID-19 spread, and to see why there's a cutoff region at longer chain length of alcohol. To overcome these, I considered what was happening in our society based on newspapers, TV news, research papers, and websites. I also researched the chemical properties of alcohol and noticed that the cutoff region might be related to the solubility of alcohol. I enjoyed my project because I can directly contribute to saving the lives of people. I wish with the help of my project the pandemic will end soon. I conducted my project at home except for the radiation exposure and the measurement of the concentration of cholesterol. The radiation exposure was done at Tokyo Institute of Technology. The measurement of the concentration of cholesterol was done at McMaster University. If I can continue my project, I want to verify the immune function against influenza was really activated by SARS-CoV-2. I also want to use longer chain length of alcohol against real SARS-CoV-2. Thank you very much for your attention.